I am a 911 dispatcher, and I am going to try something where I talk about the people I have come across in my dispatch career and the people I still think about even now. I was full-time as a dispatcher for 5 years, and right now I'm part-time, and I've been part-time for about 6 months to a year. The first person I want to talk about is someone I've been thinking about a lot lately. This was actually one of my first calls off of training, and I was 19 years old when I took this call. A female called 911 because her and her brother were doing a welfare check on her brother's friends. The actual caller didn't really know the friend very well, but she was just going with her brother to help and see what was going on because this individual was not answering the phone, didn't say anything for several days, and so her friends came to check on her. They went into the home. The female caller and her brother went into the house to look for the friend, and they found her in her bedroom where she hung herself in her closet. The female victim was in her 30s. I don't remember her name, but I remember her face so vividly because I remember looking up her driver's license and just staring at her picture. This woman was a mother. She was a wife. Her husband and 3 young children were at Disneyland when she decided to do this. And I can't even begin to imagine what they went through. I would argue that the hardest part about these calls and about being a dispatcher is never having any closure. Ever. The only times that dispatchers really get closure on the calls that they take is when it comes out in the news, maybe a week or 2 later, if they decide to do a story about it. Or sometimes dispatchers will have friends who are officers or medical personnel that will check in and let them know what else happened after that call. But that is a privilege. That's not something that we get to have all the time. I never heard about this family again. I wonder all the time where they're at, and did I do everything right? I guess this kind of just goes to show that anyone who does feel suicidal, I know, have felt the world would be better without me, nobody cares, or people care, but it would be better if I left. I won't make that much of an impact. And yet here we are. Like, this woman committed suicide, and I was just the 911 dispatcher that got the news about it first. And I'm still thinking about it. I still think about her all the time. And I'm 25 years old. It's been 6 years. So I hope that really just goes to prove that you do matter. You make an impact, whether you know it or not. I hope the friends and family of this woman are doing well, and that she is remembered in a positive way and not the way she left. It feels weird to be part of someone's end to the ending of their story and not knowing who they are. But I'm glad I got to help in one way or another, even though I couldn't save her, even though nobody could save her. I'm glad I got to help in some way. Even though selfishly I am mostly doing this to talk about my feelings and confront my emotions about these really difficult calls, I also want to talk about these people because nobody deserves to disappear. I've had so many moments recently where I've thought to myself, did this even happen? Was this even real? Or is this just, like, it feels like a fever dream that I conjured up in my head, and that has haunted me for the past several years. But it was real. She was a real person. The caller was a real person. Her children and husband, they're all real people. And, yeah, no one deserves to disappear. So, until next time. Hi! I am a dispatcher, and here is another person that I've been thinking about lately that I've come across in my career as a dispatcher. I was thinking that today I would do something a little bit more lighthearted, and I think I want to share the bizarre, insane people that I've come across that have made me laugh, that have made me raise my eyebrows or scrunch them together because I'm confused as to how they ended up the way that they are. So, this story it's something. It is something. And any of my coworkers now, if I were to mention this person's name, they all know who this person is. We have all dealt with this person. She is a frequent flyer, is what we call it. I'm not going to say any names. I'm not even going to say the name of the business that this occurred at, just because I do want to protect people's privacy, even when they act a fucking fool. I want to protect their privacy because that's part of my job. This call I took was about a year into me dispatching, and I remember the caller. It was this guy. He worked at a car wash, and he sounded very nervous and timid on the phone. He told me that he was an employee at this car wash, the manager, and that he needed officers at the car wash because there was a female that they wanted trespassed from there. I asked kind of what was going on. Why do what, is she doing anything? Like, what's going on? And he said, so she's pleasuring herself at the car wash. What I wanted to say was, excuse the fuck out of me, but instead I let a moment of silence pass, and I said, okay. And then this poor employee, he went into more detail as to what was happening, because in my mind, I thought she was doing this, like, while going through the car wash, like, while her vehicle was in neutral, right? Like, that would be your first thought, right? No, she wasn't in the car wash. She was outside of it, at the vacuums. Yeah, she put a vacuum where you think she put a vacuum. Oh, but it doesn't end there. She used 2 other vacuums, so she's got one on the main stage, you know what I'm saying? And then she has 2 more, all at the same time, in broad daylight. It was the middle of the day. To her credit, she did keep her clothes on, but she was very obviously using those vacuums inappropriately. And she did not stop until the officers got there. They walked up to her and said, "Hey, what's going on?" Apparently she just looked at them and was like, "What? What are you talking about?" "Girl, you were yanking your crank at the car wash with a vacuum, with 3 vacuums. What do you mean?" Anyway, so she was trespassed from that business, and again, she was a frequent flyer. She caused all sorts of problems all the time. She had a drug problem and clearly some mental health issues, which a lot of people suffer from. I have no idea how she's doing now, but I do know her first and last name, and I know her home address off the top of my head, because that's how often we deal with her, you know? Like, there comes a point where you know their damn phone number when it pops up on the screen. You know exactly who is calling. I do hope she's doing well. But yeah, I've been thinking about her, man. Like, I personally haven't dealt with her in several months, but like, we've been dealing with her the entire time I've been employed as a dispatcher, and she's just been going through it, clearly. I think you would be surprised at how many of people like this do change. I mean, a lot of them don't, to be perfectly honest, but a lot of them do, and I hope she does. I know she has kids, and she has potential in something, I don't know, but I do hope she gets things together one day. Moral of the story is, do not trust those vacuums, dude. Like, you have no idea where they've been. Until next time.
Come to my attention that some of you guys don't know the lore of a sorority house mom, and I feel it's my duty to let you know what that entailed. I went to an SEC school, and a very common thing at most SEC schools and a lot of schools is sororities have these giant houses, and you typically live in the house at some point during your college career. I went to UGA. We lived in the house our sophomore year of college. Most girls, at least, lived in the house. So you move in, and there were all these rules because there is a house mother who lives in the house with you. This is typically like a 50 to 60-year-old woman who's like a divorcee and runs and lives in. She has her own like little apartment suite in the sorority house, and she manages the house, and she also is in charge of you while you live there. Now, our house mom is named Miss Becky. If you were a Zeta at Georgia, you know Miss Becky. Some house moms were very, very sweet, nurturing, kind. Miss Becky was none of those things. But she has some good stories. And we had a lot of rules that I find, in hindsight, so fascinating. So the rules surrounded dinner. So let me go through them. First of all, anytime you went to dinner, you had to be wearing a dinner skirt. Why? I don't know. But you could not eat dinner unless you were wearing your dinner skirt. So we all had just like skirts handy, and you would come home from class in your, at the time, we all wore just like big sorority t-shirts and like Nike shorts every day. And you would go upstairs and you'd grab your skirt and just throw it on top of whatever you were wearing. Like, that was the extent to which we dressed up for dinner, but you could not eat without a dinner skirt. So you'd go upstairs, throw on your dinner skirt, and then we would all meet in the foyer because you couldn't enter into the dining room yet. And there was no late entry to dinner. You were either on time or you were not eating. Those were your only options. You'd come to the foyer, you would stand there, and we would all collectively sing the Zeta prayer. Then you were allowed to enter. We would file in single file into the dining room. You'd go through the line of food, and then you would just take the first available seat. But you couldn't sit down. So you'd hold your food, and we'd all stand around the table and wait until everyone had filed around a seat. And then Miss Becky would invite us to sit down. You'd sit, whatever, you'd chit chat, talk. Miss Becky, if she was at your table, she was probably lecturing you about manners. We got a lot of lectures about manners while we were there. When you were done with your food, you had to wait to be collectively dismissed. If you had to leave early for some reason because you had a meeting or something like that, you would have to ask special permission from Miss Becky to be excused early, and it was her discretion whether she could say yes or no. Also had, if you didn't make it to dinner, we had a snack kitchen that was like a pantry basically that had a bunch of snacks and a microwave and, you know, whatever, just because we paid a lot of money to live there. And Miss Becky would periodically lock the snack kitchen. If she got mad at us, you would have the snack kitchen would be locked for like a week or something because we were all like in trouble, and it was never anything that serious. Something else about Miss Becky is she would manage like maintenance people or things around the house. And so she had this rule, she told us this at the very beginning when we moved in, that she would not have any sort of maintenance men upstairs where we all like lived before a certain time in the morning. And we would also apparently get a heads up if like a man was going to be upstairs. because, like in a sorority house, we're all upstairs running around half clothed. We would need a heads up. So one morning, my roommate and I are dead asleep. A man walks into our room. It's like 8 a.m. We're both like under our covers, just like, what? Comes in. He didn't stay long. He just like looked at a vent and then left. But we were like, that was weird. Like, we should have had a heads up, number one. And also, like, maybe she didn't know, whatever. So my roommate sends Miss Becky a very nice email, just basically saying, like, hey, I wanted to give you a heads up that this happened. I know you said this wasn't, whatever. Do you know what her response was to us having a question about a man being in our room at 8 a.m.? She responded and said, I didn't know you were such a whiny individual. My bad. Also, one time we had a house meeting about something like fire safety or something. And Miss Becky told everyone that they couldn't be on their phones during the meeting. Fine. She made us all put them under our chairs. And so the meeting had ended. She's like dismissing us. I'm like, okay, the meeting's over. I reached down just to pick my phone up from under my chair. Nope, apparently the meeting hadn't fully ended, and she got so mad at me. She was like, give me your phone. So I hand my phone over to her. She goes, you can have this back when I decide you're ready. She kept my phone that my parents paid the bill for. She kept my phone for like 3 hours. And I had to like go to her office and be like, can I have it back now? And she was like, no. And I had to just like wait an indefinite amount of time to have my phone back. I was like 20 years old. It was so crazy in hindsight. And I think that some people had quite different experiences with house moms. Like, I have friends who had house moms that they were like, oh my gosh, Miss Ruth was so sweet, and she would tell us about her grandkids, and she would like give me a hug every time I walked in. If that was your experience, I'd love to hear it. If that was not your experience, I would also love to hear that. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about and you think this whole thing is crazy, also let me know.
Hello, my name is Sage, and today I'm going to be explaining what happened to me when I was in second and third grade. To get straight to the point, I was by my principal, and here is what happened. And I don't know how he got away with it. I really, really don't. I'm glad he got caught, but he is still out and free to this day, so stay tuned. So, it was a Montessori school. There were 3 different buildings. There was an art building, there was the logged cabin, there was the brick building, and we would go to those buildings for like different things, but it was separated from pre-K and then K through second grade and then third grade through sixth grade. I was like transferring from second and third grade, so I was part of the big kids towards the end. We all had our protectors because we didn't really know what was going on that was wrong. We just knew we needed each other. Like subconsciously, like we obviously didn't make that clear. But like when I say protectors, I mean like I would hold my little sister who was like 3, and like she would be scream crying. I didn't know why, but when our principal walked by, I would hold her because when we were together, it would not happen. For some people, though, it did happen when multiple were in the room. So what happened for me is I remember it like a fly was on the wall. He would be laying down. He'd be laying like flat on the floor, and then I'd be laying on top of him, and he would grind his on my, and he would ask play stop or stop stop. And then to my younger sister, it would be he would sit in a chair and do the same thing, but he would tell her that he would do very harmful things to our family if she were to say anything to anybody. And then to my youngest sister, Noah, we have no idea what happened to her, and that's what really, really hits. We have no idea what happened to her. We just know that she would come home every day with on her. So, this happened, like, I don't know how long it's been happening, but in my family's case, it's been happening from 2016 to 2018. Or I just know the case opened in 2019. Or like news-wise. I don't really remember, don't hold me on that. And then for the boys, because boys got abused, he would hold them over the water and scream at them over something they did. I don't remember the reasons, but definitely not valid. He would like scream at them and hold them over a pond and then just drop them, or he'd slap them, or like he would just physically them. And so the school, we were definitely community. I In another video, I can go over the positives, but right now I'm just like highlighting what happened legally. So eventually, a little girl told her mom, and her mom told all the other moms about the wrong it did to us. So my mom came and asked us, she was like, hey girls, does he do anything that makes you guys uncomfortable? Or like, does he do anything weird? Does he touch you? And we're like, I mean, he gives us hugs. And she asked us to show her what the hugs were, and I would like go behind her and like do it. And so we ended up getting, or all the families ended up like reporting to I don't know who, but court got involved, and a year later we had to testify. And testifying, let's just say they had a lot of money, our money, his dirty money. They had a lot of money for a good lawyer, and we did not, because all of our money went to him and his family. But I remember, so six girls testified, and I was one of the six, and my little sister was one of the other six. When my little sister was about to testify, she did not want to go. She really did not want to go. And two court guys, like policemen or something, they were like grabbing her like she was here and then she was here, like she was in the middle of them, and like making her go in, and she was screaming, I don't want to go, I don't want to go, I don't want to see his face. And so they eventually didn't make her, because that's horrible that you're even dragging a 5-year-old or 6-year-old girl in to testify. That's just disgusting. So I was one of the ones who testified, and I remember my forensic therapist, or like whoever was prepping me for it, told me not to say and I said so many times. And I remember I was in my little dress, my bob, my glasses, and I was so scared. And I remember getting so many letters from girls saying how brave they were and how they wish I could have, like, how they wish they could have done it. So I was holding my head high for those girls. And I honestly did not remember what was happening at all. I don't remember, or I didn't remember the building names. I didn't remember. My memory was foggy because I was trying to reject everything that happened to, like, protect myself. And so, court case ended. We went out for Applebee's. I was jollier than I should have been. Okay, so after the court case, he was pled not guilty. Court system did us dirty, and let me explain. School, for some reason, I associate with being trapped. Well, obviously school. I got diagnosed with PTSD, as did a lot of the other kids. I have nightmares about it frequently, and it has been almost 10 years. In relationships, it's really hard to talk about, like romantic relationships, it's hard to deal with. But for other people, it is a lot worse than me, because depending on their age, depending on how old they were, same difference, just depending on their circumstance, I think my case was probably the least worse out of all the other cases. I don't know. Like, it just got worse the younger you were, and my little sister, literally, her body rejected her little boppy, her blanket. She couldn't touch it. She would like look at it and scream, cry, because that was her thing that was holding her. Like, her boppy was what she had in those moments, what she was holding when it happened. And now she can't even look at, like, if she were to look at it right now, she wouldn't know why. She'd just start crying. It's just disgusting. It's just really disgusting. And I hope this reaches a decent amount of audience, because I want to get the word out there about how disgusting this man is. And like, I hope it's a big deal to others the way it is to me, because he was a principal. He was teaching in a Christian school. It was a Montessori school. And he used God's word in such a disgusting way. And it ruined a lot of these girls' relationship with God. And I don't think that's okay. So, hope you guys enjoyed. And I hope that anybody with a similar story has the confidence to testify and to share their story, because it doesn't hurt to get it out there, but it does hurt to keep it in, because I kept it in for so long, and it's just not okay.
Story time about how I don't have my wedding flowers anymore. And this is like a first world problem. This is not a necessity. It is just an interesting, very weird story that I thought TikTok might like. I watch a lot of Storytimes, so I'm going to try to keep it quick. The first time I tried to record this, it took 10 minutes. That seems long for my first Storytime. Let's move into it. So I got married in May 25th of 2025. And I had a beautiful bouquet of flowers made in upstate New York where I got married, and I brought them home. A mutual friend of mine and my husband's, his girlfriend at the time, who was invited to the wedding but didn't make it, she offered as a wedding gift to epoxy my flowers for me. So they had been on and off a little bit over their whole relationship. So when I got back, I checked in with her and said, hey, I have these flowers. Do you still want to do that? It would really be nice. She said yes. Dropped them off. She lived like one housing development over, so I dropped them off. She let me know that they were drying. She asked me to pick out what I wanted them to look like. I said I wanted one of those like round trays, like a drink tray made out of it, and thanked her again, blah, blah, blah. So time passes. A couple months in, I kind of reached out, just checking in. I haven't heard anything. She didn't answer. Checked in again a couple months later, no answer. Again, her and this guy have been on and off quite a bit, and there was always sort of drama with it. So after not hearing from her for a really long time, I reached out to him and said, hey, I can't reach your girlfriend. I just want to know if she still has my flowers. And he said, yes, she does. They're beautiful. They're going to be done soon. I'll have her reach out. Sorry. She's the worst about her phone. Like, no problem. So then she reaches out. I will say, she had reached out to me one time in that, like, whole span of, like, months, like 8 months or something, to ask to borrow something from me. So I wanted to be like, hey, what about my flowers? But she didn't answer whenever I'd bring it up. Anyways, so he says she'll answer. She does answer me eventually. Like, again, this is like 9 months later. And she says, yeah, they're beautiful. I'm working on them. They're not done yet. You know, I had to finish my friends, my friend Beth, her daughter's graduation flowers. She had them first, and she had them for like a year and a half. So I will say she had those first. And I'm like, as someone who picks up a lot of side hustles and does a lot of crafts, I know that sometimes it takes a little while to perfect your craft. So I figured it was something like that. So she said she was finishing those, and then she'd have mine done. And I said, okay, great. Well, you know, we're coming up on my, now fast forward, this is when she finally answers me again. I think we're at like 10 months since I dropped them off, maybe 11. And I said, it's almost our anniversary. I'd love them for our anniversary. Do you think I could get them before May 25th? And she said, yes, I'll get them 2 weeks to you, 2 weeks before your anniversary to you. I said, great. I just had this weird feeling because there had been so much stuff going on with my friend, and so then, anyway, so at some point he leaves. He reaches out to me and says, hey, I can't really remember the timeline exactly. I think they broke up. He left for a long time. He moves back. They got back together. Then he reaches out and says they broke up again, and that she's blocked him on everything. So it might be hard for me to get a hold of her because she changed her number and deleted all her socials. And I was kind of like, well, maybe she just blocked all of us because we're friends with this person. So I used like my business account to look her up. I had my friends look her up. No, like she deleted all her socials, all her stuff. So I said, can you just give me her address and I'll just go over there and ask her to just give me whatever she has left. So he gives me her address. And I'm pretty annoyed now because now my anniversary is like, I don't know, a few days away. She clearly isn't planning on getting me my flowers. And I'm starting to feel like something's going on here. And my friend Beth still hasn't gotten hers. We had seen hers at one point at a like soccer game. She had shown them to us, Beth's flowers, and they were beautiful, but they were not done yet. And she was like, I am still finishing them, whatever. So middle of the day, I go over to her house because she has young kids, and I figured they'd be at school, and I didn't want to like scare anybody. Like, it's kind of weird to just show up at somebody's house in 2026. So, I go over there midday. The kids aren't home. She's at her house, and she's very surprised to see me, and immediately knows that now she needs to tell me what's going on. So we sit down. She's got this long sob story about, changing her life and, leaving this guy and all this stuff. And she's turning over a new leaf, found God, blah, blah, blah. Not going to get into it. That's her personal business. I said, Mazel tov, great, happy for you. Where are Beth's flowers and my flowers? I'm here for 2 reasons. I want her flowers because I know they exist, and I'd like to know what's going on with mine. So she shows me Beth's. She says they're really actually almost done. There was a guy, like her, I don't know, family friend, in the back of the house working on them as we spoke, which is kind of a weird coincidence, but whatever. She shows me Beth's. She says she's putting the backing on and then they're done, and she's going to get them to her. She promises me she will. And I said, okay, I think it's time you tell me what's going on with mine, since you've not shown me one picture of them in over a year. You've been clearly avoiding me and being really weird. What's going on? She tells me that like a couple weeks after I brought them to her house, that her cleaning lady thought they were dead and threw them away. I don't know what's true in that story. I know she did a lot of moving and a lot of changing over the last year. I know she had a lot of stuff going on. I think it's very possible that maybe that happened. Personally, I've had cleaning ladies before, and my cleaning ladies would never throw something out without checking with me, especially if I had a business of epoxying flowers. But that is not, really doesn't matter, right? My flowers are gone. And that stinks. And I told her that while I am very aware that accidents happen and, whatever, she could have told me when it happened 3 weeks after I brought them over there in June, instead of lying to me for an entire year, which I said, like, what was your plan? And she's like, well, at some point I thought maybe I would get a picture from your wedding and get the bouquet remade and epoxy those. And she's like, but that would have been deceitful. And I was like, well, yeah, it would have been deceitful, but also I wouldn't have known. I don't know. So it just was so weird. She was just planning on lying to me forever, I guess. My flowers are gone. It's not the end of the world. I mean, if it really bothers me, I can get them remade. The friend of ours, of mine and my husband's, did feel guilty because it's his ex-girlfriend. Actually, I think they just got married. But he reached out and offered to do that, to get it remade and have someone actually epoxy it. I said, I don't want anything to do with this. I'm over it. Like, if I choose to do it, I'll do it on my own, whatever. But I just think it's really odd to choose to lie to someone for a year. And I think maybe she thought she wouldn't have to deal with me because they were going to keep breaking up or whatever the situation was. But why wouldn't you just be honest and say, hey, a mistake happened. I'm so sorry. And that's my first really long story time. I broke it down. I got it 2 minutes less than 10 minutes. So sorry. If you enjoy it, let me know. And let me know what you think.
Okay, y'all. I'm gonna just make a story time and fill everybody in on what happened with me and my man. I mean, my man that's not my man, but he could have been my man, and I wanted him to be my man. So we started dating like a month and a half ago. And at first I thought it was gonna be a friendship. I don't know why. I was just getting friend vibes from him. So I had invited him to do a workout class with me and my friend, and I ended up oversleeping. And he went to the workout class, and he ended up being the only person in the class, and I felt so bad. And I called him, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I thought he was gonna curse me out. Like, I was like, and I deserve it. Like, if he does decide to curse me out, I deserve it because I didn't show up. I was asleep. But he was so nice. Like, he was so kind. He was so understanding. And so I was like, hold on, we gotta run this back because I actually like him. So we ended up going on a few dates and stuff, and he took me to this nice Asian restaurant. He got me this really pretty rose, and I just loved how I love acts of service, and I feel like he was always in service to me. Like anything I needed, he was always right there, and he knew that I loved Diet Coke. So one day I go to his house and he's like, oh, I got a bunch of Diet Coke. I picked it up from Smith's. I was like just little things like that, like just so considerate, so thoughtful. And I really don't have anything bad to say about him. Everything was going really, really, really well up until like our last couple dates. And the last time I went over his house, I was a little bit upset over something, and he was the first person that
I thought of, and I was by his house. I was like, can I come by? So I go over to his house, and I'm literally crying, boo-hooing, and he's giving me tissues, and he gave me a hug, made me feel better. But I don't know, something kind of just seemed off, and I just felt, women's intuition. Like, I felt something weird. And he was like, you're welcome to stay. I'm not going to go to bed until like 10, so you can stay over. So I stay over, and we kind of start talking, and we kind of get into it a little bit, because he's like, oh, like, I feel like we should slow things down. And I'm like, well, where is this coming from? Because we had just talked, and we both agreed that we wanted to see each other more often. So now all of a sudden you're like, no, I want to see you less, right? So I'm confused. I'm sitting on the couch like, trying not to, go into Aries mode, and I'm trying to get him to like explain, but he's acting like he's the type of man, he's not gonna say how he feels because he doesn't want to hurt your feelings. But I'm like, that doesn't matter. Like, I need you to communicate with me. Like, I need to know what's going on or whatever. So, we start talking, and I'm trying to get him to open up, and he's like, yeah, like, I just feel like you're going really fast, but I usually take things slow. And I'm like, okay, so what changed? Because before the last couple dates, we were going at the same pace. We were good. And now all of a sudden, like, you want to scale back. So I end up leaving because I felt like we weren't getting anywhere with the conversation. And the type of person that I am, he was finna piss me off. And I knew that if he pissed me off, then there would be no coming back from that. Like, he would be like, oh no, I'm done. Like, the type of man that he is, like, because he's very grounded, very calm, very soft, very gentle, and I usually am like that, but these niggas be pissing me off. So I was like, the best thing that I can do is to leave. So I left, and I was like, I just need some time to like think and process like what you said, because in my head you're talking about slowing things down, but in my head what I heard was, bitch, I don't fucking like you. That's what I heard. So I'm like, let me get up out this man's house. And he tries, like, he's like, oh, you didn't give me a hug, you didn't give me a kiss. I'm like, why would I do that? Like, okay. I give him a little half hug, and he kissed me on the cheek. I said, okay, bye. So I left. I didn't talk to him, or I let him know when I got home, and then he sent me like a nice message, good night or whatever. And I was like, good night. Good night. And then the next day, he didn't reach out to me all day, which I knew he was going to do. And then I reached out to him later that night, and I was like, oh, like, let me know when you're free for a call, because I'm not doing all the texting. Like, let's be adults and let's talk. And I don't know, something still seemed off to me. So he texts me, and he's like, oh, like, I'm out with my friends right now, and I'll call you in like an hour. And in my head, I'm like, I knew he was going to go consult his friends. And I just felt like they were probably just talking shit about me the entire time. And his friends were probably like boosting his head up, like, no, she's not the one for you. And you need somebody like this, and da 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 da. So he calls me. And just his whole vibe was just like, yeah, I didn't like this, and I didn't like that. And he said, because we weren't sexual, like, I feel like we did other things and we explored, but I'm not just gonna sleep with you off rip, And that kind of was a point of contention that came up multiple times. It wasn't a big deal to me, because I'm like, when it happens, it happens. Like, I'm not rushing into it, and I want to know that this is something real. But looking back, I'm like, okay, he really felt some type of way about that, and he was just like, we don't view sex in the same way. And I was like, yeah, I guess not. Like, it's not this casual thing that I'm just gonna do with anybody. Like, sorry, I'm just not, especially if I genuinely like you, I'm gonna want to like wait. And then he said, just the way that I like talk about like gender roles and stuff, like, it makes him uncomfortable because he doesn't subscribe to any of that. And I was like, okay. I was like, I can work on that. Like, what do you want me to say? Like, okay, I can work on it. I understand, because the thing with certain people, if we really like you, we're not going to be rigid. We're going to be flexible. We're going to be malleable. Tell me what you need from me, and I will try my best to provide that for you. I'm not just going to be like, oh, that sucks, I'm sorry you feel that way. no, like, okay, I can work with you. I'll work on that. I'm sorry that maybe I said something about men that offended you. Like, I'm sorry. But there was one moment yesterday when we were talking that made me a little like uncomfortable because obviously I'm in nursing school, and once I graduate, of course I'm going to be making way more money. Of course I'm going to probably spend more money. I'm not going to be like super high maintenance and spending thousands and thousands of dollars a month on, dumb things, but I let him know. I was like, yeah, like I am going to upgrade my lifestyle. I'm going to get a new car. I'm going to, start investing in monthly services for maintenance of like my nails and my hair and whatnot. Like, I am going to do those things. And he looked at me and he's like, oh, are you high maintenance? I said, well, I'm not now, but I will be. He's like, oh. And then somehow we got onto the topic of men paying for things. And this man is a finance bro. And he likes to kind of splurge on himself, but he's very frugal in general, very like economical. He likes to save. Like, he drives a Toyota Camry, even though he can afford way more than that. And like, his apartment is nice. It's in a good area, but like, it's not like a luxury apartment. Like, he doesn't like really splurge, So I think him hearing like, oh, this is the type of lifestyle that I want, he was like, oh, it's not gonna work, because he's all about his money. So yeah, I think yesterday, after having that conversation, I think for him, even though they're not really red flags, I think for him they were red flags. And he is a black man, but he like went to private school, and he grew up in a two-parent household for his entire life and never really had to struggle much. And he got his college degree, and he's been working in finance for years, and he has a senior position, and he is just like, he had a certain upbringing that I didn't have. And I feel like we could never really like relate on those things, because I have been through struggle, like real life struggle, and he can't relate. So I feel like in that aspect we weren't the most compatible. But for me, when it comes to dating, the most important thing for me is like, as a man, just be self-sufficient, be able to pay for our dates. I don't think that's asking for a lot. Have your own place, have your own car, be hygienic, make your apartment or your house should be clean. Like, those are very basic things. And like, communicate with me and have a good heart. As long as I know that you have good intentions for me and that you're a kind person, I'm not really here asking for the world. Okay, guys, I'm back. This is part 2 of my Hinge breakup story time. But yeah, like, I didn't think that I was really asking for a lot, but I think he's a Virgo, and they like what they like, and they want what they want, and they're kind of just set in their ways. And even though I explained to him like, I am flexible and I'm willing to put in effort and like work through things with him, because I genuinely liked him. I liked his soul, and I liked his spirit, and I loved his kindness and his ability to be so welcoming and cater to me and care for me. Like, I've never felt so nurtured by a man ever in my life, like not even by my own father, not even by men in my own family. So that was such a great feeling. And for me, I always make sure to ask him, like, how are you feeling in this connection? Like, do you feel cared for? Do you feel nurtured? And I don't know, it's like maybe he just was never honest with me. Maybe he just always swept things under the rug and felt some type of way about things, but instead of just communicating it so that we could squash it, he just let it bother him until he was just completely over the situation. So yeah, like we talked, and in my head, I'm like, okay, like we can scale back, but maybe still see each other and move forward, and kind of like just give it a second chance, and see where things go, and like not put too much pressure on things. I was totally here for that. You know, when I really like someone, I'm like, let's figure it out. Let's do it together. Like, I got you, you know? He wasn't on that type of timing. He's doesn't seem like that type of person at all. Like, once he sees something that he doesn't want to see, he's done. He's done. So I kind of was getting that vibe from him. So I was just like, listen, like, just say what you need to say. So I told him, I was like, it's not about my feelings, it's not about my reactions. You can't go through life trying to people please people, you know, and tell people what you think that they want to hear so that you can spare their feelings. It was like, express how you feel, communicate, you know? And it was like, other people's reactions to your feelings is none of your business, you know? And I was like, if you feel like we're not compatible and you don't want to continue, then that's fine. Like, just let me know, you know? And he was like, yeah, yeah, that's how I'm feeling. That's how I'm feeling. Okay. All right. Um, but I think I've been through so much in my life, like a little breakup with somebody that I've known for less than 2 months. Like, it didn't really shake me. I was kind of just caught off guard because I've never been kind of like so disregarded, you know? Like, he just kind of disposed of me so quickly, and he even said, like, it's really fast. Like, it's really fast, you know? And I was like, yeah, like, I don't think anything that I said or did really warranted you completely ending dating me. Like, but I'm not him, you know? And I don't know exactly what he's looking for, but apparently I am not that. I'm not that girl. And, you know, that's okay. That's okay. I cared, and I was vulnerable, and I opened up about so many things that I've never opened up to a man about in my life. And I was myself, you know, like, I was transparent. I was me. I was TT. I was Tiara, you know? So I don't have any regrets. I just wasn't the right person for him. And that's okay, honestly. And I told him, like, I don't have anything bad to say about him. I'm open to having a friendship with him because I still think he's great, and I still think that he has a beautiful, beautiful heart. But, you know, for whatever reason, he just doesn't see it with me. But that's okay. Like, that is okay. Because someone will. And even if no one ever does, that's okay. Like, it really is, you know? Because I love me, and I love my life, and I love what I'm doing, and I'm on this new journey, and, you know, I'm in school, I'm getting a new education, learning all these new things. I've met so many new friends, and I already have amazing groups of girlfriends, you know, and I have sisters. And I think a lot of times love and relationship is the center of everything. And I want to be somebody who, like, genuinely decenters men. Like, if a man comes into my life and he just has so much to offer, and he can benefit me and I can benefit him, and we're good partners, then beautiful. Like, I'm not going to be like, no, go away, you know? But also, if something like this happens to where, like, things just don't work out, I'm okay. Like, I'm okay. I didn't even cry. I didn't even cry. And I was on my period. I didn't cry. I was like, I get it. Like, I get it. Some people haven't been for me, and maybe they really liked me, but I didn't see it with them, you know? And that's gonna happen. Like, rejection is a part of dating. It just is. So I feel okay. I actually feel free, and I feel like I'm 29. I'm at the point where I stopped dating for so long. I stopped dating for like 5 years. And I kind of just got back into the field. And I was so ready to have a long term committed relationship with this man because I liked him so much and I really could see us building a future together. But I really think everything happens for a reason. And I'm just going to take this as a sign from God that it wasn't meant to be. And I don't think I'm meant to be in a serious relationship during nursing school because relationships are work. And I am somebody who, as you can probably tell at this point, I'm going to put in the work. I really am, to get us to the next step. Like, because we got to be seeing progression, we got to be going somewhere, you know? So, yeah, I take that as a sign from God to just be like, no, girl, focus on your education, focus on the other women in your cohort, and create community, you know, within the circles that you're in, you know, and lean in to friendship, platonic relationships, and sisterhood. Like, because at the end of the day, that is the most important thing. You could think that you met the love of your life, but when I tell you that man could wake up tomorrow and be like, bye. I mean, that's what happened to me. So he could wake up, everything could seem perfectly fine. And then all of a sudden he's like, no, this isn't it for me, you know? And when that man is long gone, think about who is going to be right there for you. Think about that. Okay? So when he does leave, you won't even have no tears left to cry. You won't even have none because you're going to look around and be like, my life is so full. I have exactly what I need. So that's where I am now. And I think this was such a good lesson for me, and I will take so much away from it. And I really hope that we can actually stay friends because like I said, I have nothing bad to say about this man. Nothing. And I don't know who he's looking for, but hopefully he finds it, and hopefully he's not so focused on the little tiny things that don't really matter about the person, and he focuses on who they are as a whole and is able to accept them fully, and love them unconditionally. So yeah, that's the end of my story time. And I hope you guys took something away from this as well.
I'm filming this in one take, so you know this shit is real. Story time on how I found out that my daughter's dad was having an affair with his 20-year-old cousin and impregnated her twice. For context, we are both 27. He'll be 28. She's currently 20, maybe 21. This started about 2-3 years ago, so y'all do the math. Okay, so for starters, I was living in Arizona for the past 5 years, so I did do the first 6 months of my pregnancy in Arizona, quote unquote, alone, not really. I would fly home to Chicago like weekly, monthly. He would fly in to Arizona. And the goal was for him to relocate to Arizona. He had put a transfer in request for his job. He knew that I didn't want to be back home in Chicago, but I also would not have mind being in Chicago, us being first-time parents, and that's where all of my friends and family are. It was like, okay, I'll go home, but like, I don't want to go home for real. So that's how that came about with me living in Arizona and then uprooting my life cross country. So ultimately, I did move cross country. I came home to Chicago. He helped me pack up, came home, and then we moved in together. He proposed, so there was that. So going through pregnancy, engaged, baby on the way, whatever. I'm gonna skip to the part of how I found out so I can double back on the things that led into it. So on his side of his family, his great aunt had passed away, and I took my daughter to his great aunt's funeral. A lot of the relatives there were like looking at me a certain way, but I didn't think much of it because this is like, I don't come around people for real anyway. His family, my family. I'm just not like a sociable person. But me having a child, I was like willing to be more out of my shell, out of my bubble, I guess. So I want to say his great aunt's funeral, let's say, was in the month of April something. 3 to 4 weeks later, right, I'm checking my Facebook DMs. I don't do social media. If you know me, I don't get on social media at all. I hate it. I don't like it. I'm checking my Facebook DMs and I go to the spam side because I was trying to adjust my settings, and I see a request from his uncle. And his uncle was like, hey, I have some information on such and such. This will save you and your marriage, or you from making a bad decision with your marriage and your life, whatever. So I call the uncle. Mind you, I'm checking this DM a month later. He sent it to me around the time of their relative's funeral. I didn't know this. So I called the uncle and I'm like, what do you have to tell me? And he's like, who is this? I'm like, Amaya. He didn't want to say anything at all. Like, he did not want to tell me nothing. So me being me, I run to my mom, like literally for everything. So I involved her and I'm like, hey, can you call, his uncle? Like, he said he has something to tell me, but he doesn't want to tell me. So my mom eventually got the information out of this and she's like, where are you? Like, promise you're not going to go off edge if I tell you this. And I'm the type of person, I have really bad anxiety. Like, you can't just tell me like I have something to tell you and then you're dragging it. Like, what do you have to say? So my mom told me, she's like, such and such has been sleeping with his cousin, which is the uncle's niece, and this has been going on for 2 to 3 years. And he won't say which niece it is, but it's one of his nieces. So me knowing that there are 3 nieces in question, I'm thinking it's the niece that's closest in age to us. That's 25 or 26. There's a 20-year-old, and then an 18-year-old. So I brought it to the 25, 26-year-old niece's attention. And I asked her, like, are you the one that's sleeping with your cousin? And she told me, no, it's my younger sister. So once she confirmed that it was her younger sister, I went back to my mom. I told her I found out who it is. And when I talked to other relatives in his family, they were extremely skeptical about it. They didn't want to too much believe that because it's hearsay, word of mouth. My mom is the type of person where she's like, if somebody is putting something on the table for you and something as like strong as that, you better believe it. So I did confront my child's father about it, and this day was his younger sister's high school graduation. So I was taking my daughter to the graduation event, and I'm in his face confronting him about it. Like, why does your uncle say, like, why did he say he had something to tell me? At this point, I didn't know. I was already like out with them. And he's like, oh, that's just my drunk uncle. Don't listen to him. He's always drunk. He don't know what he's talking about. And my mom was like, the drunk ones and the ones that are deemed as crazy, those are the ones you want to listen to. So I'm asking my daughter's dad, and he's not telling me nothing. So I take my daughter and leave and go home. And then that night or the next day, that's when my mom, like, talked to the uncle and got all that information. And then I confronted my daughter's dad about it again, and now he's just like ignoring me, like not saying nothing, not answering my calls, not answering my texts. If you didn't do it, you would be willing to communicate, right? But your uncle and the little girl's older sister is not gonna lie and say, hey, these 2 cousins have been sleeping around. For context, they're second cousins. So his grandmother and her grandfather are brother and sister. Real blood ties, y'all. So at that point, I knew it was true. Some in-between stuff happened as far as like me piecing it together, getting the information from him. But once I found out, I removed myself, okay? Done. My daughter and I, we live on our own now. I work from home. I'm taking care of myself. Keep in mind, prior to all of this, me and her dad were living together. I uprooted my life from Arizona. He was paying all of my bills. I wasn't working. So to have to go from that type of lifestyle to this major shift was a really bad setback for me. But that's why I have a PhD. I'm degreed up. So I always got something in my back pocket. But yeah, it was a really hard adjustment, like getting my life back on track. So keep in mind, I found this out around Memorial Day. It is now July 28th, 29th. I haven't seen him, talk to him. He hasn't seen his daughter. I also made it very clear he cannot be around her. I'm the type of person where I feel like if you can sleep with your younger cousin, you can coerce my kid and get in her mind to get her to do some shit like that. Remember, she's 20. He's almost 28. This has been going on for 2 to 3 years. I would hate for my daughter to be around him. And he's like, oh, this will be our secret. Don't tell mommy. Don't tell the family. I'm not even going to say what I want to say. Oh, and to add into that, a few of his relatives knew as well. They knew. So I hope everyone knows why I'm keen on not having my daughter around, because I don't play that shit. Let my kid get touched. It's going to be slow singing and flower bringing for everyone. Yeah, also, too, I got in contact with the little girl's grandfather. We're like this. He said, I don't fuck with that incest shit. So it's a few of her relatives on his side that, like, we're like this and I stay in contact with. He brought it to the forefront for everybody because she told around the time my daughter was born in March. So it's like guilty conscience, huh? But it's like all of these people, certain people knew, he knew, she knew. And I'm just sitting here like carrying on with life, right? She also gifted me gifts for my daughter. She didn't come to my baby shower, but she gifted me something. She gave it to his grandmother, and they gave it to me, with them knowing this shit. For context, the child is not alive. She either had an abortion or a miscarriage. I was told by her grandfather she was planning on keeping the child. So she says she was pregnant once. Others are saying she was pregnant twice. I know she was pregnant around the time I was pregnant. Did I see the signs? Absolutely not. I wouldn't think anyone would sleep with their younger cousin. I will say this, though. When I moved home to Chicago in December, it was snowing and I was pregnant. I was like 7 months, something like that. And I never wanted him to smoke in the house. I'm like, I don't want you smoking around me. I don't want you smoking around the baby, the clothes. Like, I don't want none of that. So he would leave to tell me he's going to his old neighborhood to smoke. The little girl, the cousin, lived in that neighborhood right across the street. Her grandfather told me he was really going over there to sleep with her. For your brain to think it's okay to sleep with your cousin willingly, raw sex, and ejaculate in her, not once, twice, maybe more than that, because you don't get pregnant off of every time you have sex. It's wild. So yeah, I removed myself, and then recently he filed for child support and custody. He filed for custody. He wants my child, and he wants me to pay him for her, the 4-month-old child that I take care of alone that he hasn't seen in 2 months. And I was real quiet about all of this shit. I was just handling it with friends and family. But once that child support shit hit my table, I started crashing out, rightfully so. And I'm not gonna stop. So, yeah. I feel like I hit on everything too. And if I didn't, I'll do another update. But yeah, that's my life right now. Part 2, because it was requested, some additional information. Have I spoken with the family or the cousin? That's the main question. No. My child's grandmother knew. My child's father knew. I feel like his sister knew. The only person I'm giving a pass to is his mother. I genuinely feel like she didn't know. And so because y'all knew that shit and kept it a secret or to yourselves, no, I don't want to talk. No, I haven't talked to them. I do get people's perspective, like my friends and family, like, well, why would they tell you that, Amaya? Like, you know, people gonna ride inside with their family, right or wrong. And I get that. Cool. But because y'all are for keeping secrets, and if something happens to my child and y'all care. But yeah, I haven't spoken with them. And because the grandmother knew, he asked me when my daughter was born, can I name her after his grandmother, her middle name? I took my ass downtown Chicago and sat down at the clerk's office for 6 hours and amended my daughter's middle name and changed that shit to my mother's middle name. I don't play that shit, y'all. So yeah, don't talk to them, won't talk to them. I don't have to, I don't want to, and I won't. Same goes for him. As far as the cousin, I have spoken with her. And here are some things that she has said to me. You should never let another woman see you sweat or cry. I'm flattered that you think I give a fuck. I'm actually not embarrassed about any of this. Life goes on. Maybe when I have a daughter, you can gift me something in return. Keep in mind, she gifted me her deceased, inbred, incest daughter's clothing items. Now, let's not forget from part 1, her grandfather said that she planned on keeping said child with her cousin. My thing is, if y'all were gonna start a family, y'all could have left me the fuck out of it. Like, you could have left me and my child out of that shit. Like, don't propose to me and do the whole family image, because you really want to do the nasty shit, incest shit behind closed doors. Like, do you? Leave me the fuck alone. He also asked her to be his mistress while we were married, and she agreed to it. Let's see, what else has happened? Oh, my tires have been slashed. My car was broken into. I will take accountability for my car being broken into. When I went downtown to amend my daughter's middle name and change it to my mother's, I did leave all my personal information in my car. That's my fault, but I'm a single mom. I get forgetful. I was rushing to take my daughter upstairs. But my debit cards were stolen, my ID, my birth certificate and passport and social were ripped up. I do live behind a lake, so all of that was scattered behind the lake. Keep in mind, I have only been back in the Midwest for 7 months now. No one knows where I live other than close friends and family, so I don't think anybody on my side did it. And these two instances happened after I changed my daughter's middle name. I believe they got wind of me changing my daughter's middle name, maybe through social media. Nonetheless, that shit still happened, and to come over here, you, your cousin, whoever, and do that shit, and my infant child lays her head here is asinine, but that's neither here nor there. Aside from that, I do enjoy being a girl mom and a single mom. Like, not having to wake up to a fucking man or angry man in the house. Love that shit. Like, it's nothing better than rolling over and waking up to my daughter and she's just smiling and we're laughing and we're planning a day. It has been tough. I have my moments. I've been taking care of her solo for 2 months. I actually love it, though. I do have a support system in a village, so it's like, it is what it is. It's okay. I'm not sweating it. Like I said, I was set back for a while, but I am 27 and I have an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and a PhD. So I'm never too far off, boo. Would I have been willing to co-parent? That's another question I've gotten. I would have been willing to co-parent had this been a regular girl. I don't give a fuck about the age. I mean, I give a fuck about the age, but like, if you was to sleep with like a 19, 20-year-old little girl, like, I still would have called the shit off we got and co-parented. It's the fact that it was his cousin. And once again, safety is my main priority. My number one obligation in life now is my daughter. I'm no longer living for myself. I'm living for my child. And as a mom and a father, any parent, your child has to be number one in your life now. So all I'm thinking about and prioritizing is her. So when I think of her and her safety, I think about how he coerced his younger cousin, how they kept it a secret, how relatives knew it was a secret, and how that could potentially happen to my daughter. If it happened to one family member and you got away with that shit, who's to say it won't happen to the next? My kid. And I don't play about my kid. Like, I've never realized how much of a crash out I was until I had a daughter. But yeah, I would have been willing to co-parent. I'm not in the mental space to do that shit. My daughter is 4 months old and I have to protect her. Like I said, what caused the crash out was him filing for child support. My daughter is 4 months old. She's on my medical insurance. I take care of her alone, solo. I pay for all expenses. She lives with me full time, 7 days a week. She has not seen her father in 2 months. He does not financially support her, but he wants me to pay child support for a 4-month-old child that I support financially. It's fucking crazy. Like, I'm a first-time mom, and this being my introduction to motherhood, sometimes I just sit back and I'm like, what the fuck did I do to whoever? Like, or this got to be because of my daddy. Like, I'm getting his karma through and through. I don't know. But I have a strong support system, a strong village. Like I said, I really love being a mom. I take my daughter everywhere with me. If my baby can't go, I can go. But I manage having a life outside of her, too, of course. Yeah, players fuck up, too. Life goes on. Chin up, chest out. My daughter ain't asked to be here. She did not fucking ask to be here. She don't deserve none of this shit. So I'm doing my best to care for her and, to take care of my mental state as well. My tubes are tied and I am one and done for sure. This has been the most humbling experience of my life. I don't give a fuck about meeting a man in the future. That's not my priority. I don't even want to introduce a man to my daughter. I don't want to move us into any man's home. I don't want to move a man into my home. My main priority is me and her. The dating life will come about, however, I don't care, but that shit won't be around her. So yeah, Miss Crash Out, young and turned, one and done, checking out. I don't have shit else to say. But thanks for coming to my TED Talk. And yeah, y'all, it's crazy out here. Men are evil and they siphon energy. They really do. Like, we have some demonic spirits walking upon us. But I'm not even going to get off into all that. That's all I got.
Can we talk about crazy in-laws? So I'm not married, but my sister and my brother have spouses. My sister's husband, 9.5 out of 10. Good guy, love him. I literally can go to him for anything. Sometimes he comes to me and gives me advice that I don't want, but love him. Couldn't pick a better spouse for my sister. My brother, on the other hand, yeah, that situation is crazy. Let's see, backstory. My brother literally did not tell us that he was dating anybody, which is fine, like that's his prerogative, but we are a very close family and we kind of tell each other basically almost anything, especially if it's kind of life-changing, you know. So let's see, backstory. In 2024, my brother got stationed to his first duty station in Virginia, and everything was going good. You know, he texts us, call us when he can because he's on shift, everything like that. You know, just checks in, let us know how he's going, how is he finding his new duty station, everything like that. Come March, things kind of get quiet with him, and so we figured, you know, he's finding his own life, you know, he's having friends, whatever, right? All of a sudden, in April, we get a phone call from my brother. We answer the phone, and there's a female on the other line. And she's like, hey, you don't know me, but I am James's friend, and just letting you know, he is in a loony bin. We were so shocked, dumbfounded. We just didn't know, like, what's going on. Like, we didn't know his mental health was bad or anything like that. And, you know, no jokes on mental health. Like, just a disclaimer here. I take mental health very seriously. I had issues. I had, you know, a crash out at one point in my life. So, you know, no jokes here. But we were just very surprised that he didn't say anything. And so his friend keeps us in contact. She lets us know, like, what's going on, when's he gonna get released, things like that. We weren't allowed to speak with him due to, they said, since patients are only allowed to, like, see people face to face and not through the phone. So we just had to wait and for him to get released. About, I would say, 4 to 5 days later, he finally got released and we were able to talk with him. And, you know, due to some family news, it kind of took a toll on him and he didn't know how to process it, and that's why he was admitted into the hospital. But, you know, we told him we were there for him, we love him, and, you know, if he needs anything, we're one flight away. So he's out by the end of April. I would say probably like 2-3 weeks later, around Mother's Day, he calls my mom and says, happy Mother's Day, I got you a daughter-in-law. We're like, what? Literally, mouths on the floor. We were all shocked, dumbfounded, had no words to say. We don't know this girl. We know nothing about her. And they're like 19 years old. I mean, if you're wanting to get married young, that's on you. But they haven't literally dated. We know nothing about her. So, as a supportive family we rally behind him. And, you know, we're going to support him. We're going to welcome her into the family with open arms, because that's just how we are. And so we try to get to know her. My sister and I created a group chat for just us girls. You know, welcome her into the family. Try to get to know her.
you know, her family, her interests, things like that. Trying to be a supportive sister-in-law to her, since she is the only child and doesn't have any siblings. Shortly after their surprise marriage, she calls and tells me she's pregnant. And so my mind is, you know, putting two and two together, like, oh, they probably got married because she's pregnant, whatever. Again, that's their prerogative. I'm going to be here to support them no matter what. I was literally bawling when she told me, because I'm finally going to be a Thea. As the oldest, you know, my siblings are not old enough, in my opinion, or mature enough to have children of their own yet. They're still establishing their lives. So I was finally excited to know that I was going to be a Thea. And so this is actually summer of 2024. Summer 24. Summer of 25. Sorry. It's early. I haven't had my coffee. So I'm trying to communicate with her, you know, asking her how her pregnancy is, if she's craving anything, you know, like just trying to understand how her pregnancy is. She can lean on me if she's going through hard times, because like I said, she doesn't have any friends, siblings, you know, trying to be the extra support system she needs. Well, I get, you can't know about my appointments. It's HIPAA, HIPAA privacy or whatever. I'm like, oh, okay. I was just literally asking how your appointment was baby healthy? You know, where are you measuring at? You know, how's the heart rate? Like anything like that. No, that's confidential. Okay, by all means, you know, if you don't want to share that, that's fine. I'm just curious of how my niece or nephew is going, how they're progressing. Same thing, text her, you know, hey, do you need help with getting any maternity wear? You know, whatever you need, reach out to the fam, we got you. No, that's too much information. Y'all don't need to know what I'm buying, what I'm shopping for, yada, yada, yada. Okay, sure. This is summer of 25. Like I said, we never met her. So we're just trying to understand her and her way of thinking and how she does things. Come fall of 25, my sister is getting married. So my brother and his new bride comes down for the wedding, and this is the first time the whole family is meeting her. And so, you know, to include her in the wedding and stuff like that, my sister was like, hey, I want you to be a part of my wedding day. Come into the room with us, get ready. We got you an extra pair of pajamas. Take pictures with us. We're gonna get your hair done. We're gonna get your makeup done. You're gonna be a part of this day. If you want to. If you want to. If not, I totally understand. This might be way too much for you. But you tell me what you're comfortable with. All smiles. Yeah, please. I would love to be a part of your special day, and I'd love to, you know, hang out with the girls, whatever. We thought she was cool. Like, we took her to get her nails done with us. Like, she got pampered, we got pampered. It was like a sister bonding moment. And all of a sudden, after the wedding, she goes off the rails and says that my family was buying her love, that we forced her to be in my sister's wedding photos, and we forced her to be a part of her special day and get ready with her. Lies. My sister literally genuinely asked her, like, I know you're pregnant. I know, like, you're new to the family. I don't want to overwhelm you, but I would love for you to be part of my special day. If not, that's okay. And she was all smiles and said, I would love to. And now she's spinning a narrative saying that we forced her, we're buying her love, etc. And mind you, at the same time, I'm not only feeding with her, my mom is also feeding with her. That's another story. My brother was trying to, you know, make the family close together, so he invited us to Virginia for Christmas. So we go up to Virginia for Christmas because he invited us, and that's another shit show in itself. Stick around for part 2. And I'm sorry if I'm cussing. I don't even know if I can cuss on here, so I'll try to be better.
Okay, can we talk about Crazy In-Laws Part 2? If you thought the first episode was crazy. Buckle up, it's about to get messier. I left off with my family and I heading to Virginia to spend Christmas with my brother and his new bride. So we get there, we get situated in our Airbnb, and he messages us and lets us know he wants us to come over so he can show us his apartment, how they are settling in and everything like that. So we get there and it is awkward, to say the least. We are literally just standing around in like a 700 square foot apartment waiting to be asked if we could sit down, if we want something to drink. We raised my brother with manners, Southern hospitality, where it's like, hey, come on in, make yourself at home, mi casa, su casa, have a seat, do you want something to drink, whatever. None of that happened. We literally had to ask the boy to sit down. We literally had to tell him we were thirsty. Mind you, this whole entire time, his wife is just standing around, sulking, staring at us, making the situation 10 times worse. So we're sitting there. We obviously don't feel welcome. He's hardly making conversation with us. It kind of seems like he is living on eggshells in his own place. And I bet you he felt awkward because their living situation, that's a whole another mess in itself. Let's just say we didn't raise him to live like that, and we were very shocked on the way he was living. But my parents and I and my grandfather, we felt the tension, so we decided to leave and go back to our Airbnb and just chill, make the most of our vacation. And shortly after we get back to our Airbnb, my brother texts us and says, hey, my wife and I want to come over. We need to talk to you guys. So we're like, oh, okay, sure, come on over. They wanted to have a family meeting, so, things are going in our head, like, what could it be, what's going on? Maybe it could be dealing someone with her pregnancy, because at this point, it's December, she's due in March, she is expecting twins, shocker. So it could be a million different things. They come in, and again, awkward, no one's making eye contact with each other, no one knows how to start a conversation, etc. So they sit down and his wife breaks the ice and literally says, so I have an issue. She was like, as you know, I am pregnant with twins, and my doctor told me that I am high risk due to the type of twins that the girls are. And she said that her doctor told her that she needs to remove all stress from her life so the pregnancy can continue going smoothly and so forth. And she flat out called out my mom and said, you're the problem. We want you to get checked. We think you have bipolar disorder. If you want to be in my life, the girl's life, and your son's life, you need to go get help. I'm sorry. Who are you to call out my mother saying that she has bipolar disorder? You know nothing about her. Yeah, 2025 was a rough year for her. However, she was going through menopause. She clearly made that known. So how do you think menopause and bipolar disorder are the same? They're not. My mother obviously defended herself. My dad just sat back and let everyone say their piece, what was on their mind. And my brother's wife thinks she knows everything about bipolar disorder because several family members of her has this disorder. I'm sorry. What makes you an expert in this disorder if your whole or some of your family members have it? Not everyone's the same. And who are you to say that she needs help or she cannot be part of your life? You don't make that. You don't have the right to make that decision. You're married to my brother. Y'all are going to be a couple. Married couples should talk and have these difficult conversations together and make a decision. So who are you to say she can't be a part of y'all's lives? Anyway, my mom cut her off, didn't like where the conversation was going. So they left, and my dad didn't want to have the holidays spoiled. So he reaches out to him and says, you know what, let's let's go have dinner. Let's try to talk out whatever everyone's issues are, so forth. So we go to dinner, and my dad is the one that's kind of leading the conversation and such. So my brother says that he just obviously wants his wife to have a healthy pregnancy and have no stress, and whatever she wants kind of goes. So my dad said he understands, but how she went about it obviously is not the correct way. And my brother said, you know what, I'll tell you what, y'all can come to our apartment, help us clean, help us, set up the cribs, organize, whatever. She was there when he said that, and she didn't say anything. So we scheduled to come to their place the following day in the morning to, I guess, gather what they have and what they need so we can get them organized, get them situated for the girls. While we were doing this, she was still at work. She wasn't able to take off, so she was at work. The boys went out and went to the stores for us to get what we needed, while my mother and I organized things, put things in piles where they belong, and so forth. She literally comes home, looks at me and my mother, gives us the death stare, and cusses at us and says, WTF, what are y'all doing? Where's your son? Where's your brother? He let you in our house. Like, how dare he? She just went off, then stormed in her room and slammed the door. And me and my mom just looked at each other dumbfounded, because she was literally there the night before when he said that we can come and clean, organize, so forth. I don't know what world she's living in, but clearly she's not in the present. So obviously you can tell how the rest of the day went. We weren't welcome in their place. It was very awkward for the rest of our trip. We barely spoke and hung out with my brother. Of course, we did our own thing. Come middle January, we get a call saying that she went into labor early. The girls are obviously way premature. They're going to be in the NICU for a few months, so forth. Because of this, she went off of my mother, stating that my mother is the one who made her go into early labor, and everything's my mother's fault. How her pregnancy was, why the girls were born early, everything. When in fact, she never took accountability. While we were there, she never ate right. She just constantly ate fast food, constantly drank Dr. Peppers left and right, never saw her once drink water. Never once saw her take any prenatal vitamins, nada. So I think it's time for her to take some accountability and own up to herself for not taking care of herself during her pregnancy. So the girls are born in mid-January. My mom and dad are eager to see the girls, come down there, help them, because, navigating a newborn is challenging, let alone when you have two and you're working a demanding job. So my parents wanted to come down and help. She immediately put the brakes down and was like, absolutely not. You're not coming here. I don't trust you around my girls. I don't know you. You could be a crazy pedo. She literally said that. So yeah. You don't let us get to know you. And you don't let us get to know you, and then you don't want to get to know us. We tried many different ways to include you in our family and for you to get to know us, and vice versa. And you keep putting these roadblocks. And then you have the audacity to say that you don't know us and you don't want us around your kids. Honey, that's all on you. There's a little bit more, so stick around for part 3, and I promise that's the last one.
Can we talk about Crazy In-Laws part 3, final part, because somehow things get even crazier. So I left off with my nieces being born. My parents wanted to come down to help out. She said absolutely not, and that my mom will have to prove herself to go down there, meaning my sister-in-law would come up with these rules and things that my mom has to follow in order for them to go down there. she was basically going to rank my mom on a point system. So if my mom went to therapy and actually did counseling, whatnot, she got 1 gold star. What? I'm sorry, are we in freaking kindergarten? What the heck? We're grown ass people, and you're giving everybody point systems now? This is far out of pocket. She also said that, you know, if she continues, like, no contact, my mom not contacting her for like so many weeks, she'll get a gold star too. So when she reaches 5 gold stars, she can get a picture of the girls. Not pictures, 1 picture. I'm like, this girl is freaking crazy. Like, seriously. While this is going on, you know, I'm playing both fields. I'm trying to say what my sister-in-law wants to hear from me so I can get pictures and show my parents, because they weren't getting anything. So yeah, I'm two-timing, whatever. And so I'm showing these pictures to my mom, and of course she's obviously, you know, excited to see these pictures of the girls, and so she posted them on social media, and somehow my sister-in-law finds out, and she goes off on me saying, how dare I send my parents those pictures. They're not my pictures to share to begin with. You know, crazy out of pocket stuff. So that goes on, and you know, my mom's like, you know what, I'm just gonna kill her with kindness. I'm gonna do what she wants me to do, and hopefully, you know, it pays off in the end. And so it's around April, and my mom, you know, sees things out in the stores, like for my first Easter, we see cute outfits for the girls, so forth. And so my mom's like, I want to buy stuff for the girls and send it to them. And I'm like, yeah, sure, let's go, because there's a lot of cute things out there, and we want to spoil the girls. You know, it's our right as an auntie and as a grandmother. So my mom sends a care package to them, and immediately after they get the package, sister-in-law goes crazy again, stating that we have no right to send the girls things that say anything like my first Easter, to be for the example. So my sister-in-law says that only parents are allowed to buy their kids stuff that has my first whatever. So like my first Easter, my first Valentine's, my first Christmas, anything that says my first, whether it can be clothes, a book, a stuffy, whatever, only parents are allowed to buy that. Never heard of that rule before, and again, she never expressed this towards us. Mom was like, you know what, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm gonna do, kill her with kindness. And so it happens to be the devil's birthday in April, and so my mom, you know, buys a cake for her. I believe she got her some flowers and a gift, and she sent them to her house. We never heard anything. Did she get them? Nothing. And so my mom texts my sister-in-law and says, hey, did you get the flowers, the cake, your gift? Yeah, I got them. And my mom's like, okay, well, you're welcome. And the sister-in-law says, I'm not gonna say thank you because I didn't ask for them. Is she freaking mental? Like, seriously, you hate someone so much that you're like gonna go out of your way to not even be grateful for like a simple birthday gift? Like, what has my mother and my dad and myself and my sister have done for you to be so evil? Really, truly. So that happens in April. You know, after that we hear nothing, because at this point sister-in-law is batshit crazy. She's saying things to my brother. She's telling him that we're saying all these awful things to her. I'm like, girl, where's the receipts? Where's the timelines? She has nothing to show him. But of course he believes her because that's his spouse. So my brother just completely ignores us, you know. My dad, poor thing, he reaches out to my brother and is like, yo son, I'm having surgery later this summer. I really love to see the girls before, you know, things get really tough in the middle of summer, towards the end of the year. I don't know how my health's gonna be. I'm fine right now. I would love to see the girls. My brother's like, yeah, sure, fine, come down, but you know, there's gonna be some rules. I'll talk to Alexa, that's her name. But yeah, she spells it weird, so of course, you know, girls that spell their names in a weird way are kind of mental. Anyway, that's my opinion. So yeah, they talk and they're like, yeah, you can come down, but there's gonna be some rules. Okay, whatever, we'll play your game. We just want to come down and see the girls. So we make a timeline. We come down in early June. We get down there. As soon as we landed, she changes all the rules and it's like, you know what? Yeah, no, you're not gonna see the girls unless I am there. So my brother couldn't bring the girls to us. She had to be there as well. And mind you, my brother took off a week of work to hang out with us, see us, but she wouldn't allow him. She would not allow him. And so my brother's like, you know what, this is kind of stupid, this is crazy. So one day while she was at work, he brought the girls to our hotel. We hung out, we had a great time. My dad and mom really wanted to, you know, decorate the girls' nursery. I know they needed furniture. So my parents offered to go to IKEA, see what we can find. We go to IKEA. Turns out he was texting his wife and she found out where we were. Scene breaks out at IKEA. I was holding one of the twins. She comes up, rips one of the girls out of my arms, is frantically looking for the other twin while she's cussing out my brother. The other twin was in the restroom with my mom. She had a accident, so of course my mom was gonna change her. She wasn't gonna let her sit in her mess. And so my mom comes out of the restroom and she just goes off on my mom. She snatches the other twin and is holding both of them in a very awkward way. And she's just yelling at my mom like, how dare you? You knew my rules, boundaries. You can't be left alone with her. Like, we're family. What are we gonna do to these sweet little girls? We gave you no reason for you to be afraid to leave those girls with us whatsoever. So that happens. They storm out of IKEA after, you know, some physical altercation. Yeah, she put her hands on my brother in IKEA. He just stood there, let her do her thing. So we're dumbfounded, we leave. We're trying to figure out what to do next, and then she calls and says, I hope you're happy you just broke up my family. I'm sorry, where are you getting this from? So, my dad's like, you know what, let's squash this, because she started like talking about Bible verses. I don't know where she even got this from, but she just started talking about Bible verses. My dad's like, you really want to talk about the Bible? Got you. So we go up to their house and it's just a screaming match. She literally like points at me, she points at my mom, she points at my dad. She's just cussing us out, going off on us, and my brother is just standing there, not interrupting or anything. And so we basically severed ties with her. We're like, you know what, we're not gonna stand for this. My parents told my brother that they love him. I didn't say anything to him because he said some ugly things to me as well. So to this day, I had not spoken to my brother nor my sister-in-law. My mom checks in with my brother once in a while, and same thing with my dad, but they're the ones that have to reach out. It's not the other way around. So that's my take on crazy in-laws. Love to hear what you have to say, or what are your stories. Thanks for watching.
Okay, you know those moments where your stomach drops first, but like your brain is still catching up to what was just said? That is exactly how I felt recently when I was working this wedding, and I just have to tell you about this. Okay, so let me start by saying this wedding seemed perfect. The weather was perfect. The bride had been planning this for years. Everything looked like it was going to go off without a hitch. But about an hour before the ceremony, the bride pulls me aside. She doesn't look like she's panicking. She wasn't crying. She was completely calm and looked me in the eyes and said, have you seen a man around here that no one seems to know? And I'll be honest, at first, I kind of laughed because I thought that she was joking. And when I realized that she wasn't joking and stayed completely straight-faced, my stomach dropped. So she went on to tell me that she had seen this man walking around the property that she would catch a quick glimpse of, but as soon as she went to look further, he was gone. And this man wasn't wearing wedding attire. He wasn't talking to anyone. He was just kind of lurking. And this was a pretty large venue with a lot of extra staff, including the staff that needed to be there that was hired for the actual wedding. So at first I just assumed it was one of them. So I went to investigate and started to ask around. The venue manager didn't know what I was talking about. The caterer hadn't seen him. But then I started to ask the photographer and the DJ, and they honestly both kind of assumed that he was with someone else, maybe someone's uncle or someone's friend. He didn't really seem to be causing any harm, so they just kind of shrugged it off. But that's what honestly worried me the most, that no one had actually spoken to this man, but other people had seen him and he had just been there throughout the day. But no one really had a clear answer on who he was, so I wasn't too alarmed yet. And I started looking around the property, looking for him. And I thought I had noticed him one time looking towards the bridal suite, never around where the groomsmen were, or the groom for that matter, but I had noticed him, and right as I went to walk up to him, someone else dragged me somewhere, and by the time I went back, he was gone. So, because this guy hadn't shown back up again, we started the ceremony, and we didn't want to ruin everything that we had already planned, of course, with not that much information on who this guy was or really where this guy was now. But all of a sudden, about halfway through the ceremony, I look towards the back and I see this guy again. But he's just standing there, looking towards the bride and groom, smiling. And not making a sound, not causing any disruption, but just there. Follow for part 2, because who this guy ends up being and what ends up happening after the ceremony is a turn I had never expected. Okay, so the ceremony wraps up, and just as I go to the back to try and locate this guy or speak with him or something, he walks away. And he's not walking very fast, but he is walking away. And by the time I get back there, he's already crossed the parking lot and climbed into this kind of older SUV with tinted out windows. But what was crazy is he didn't drive away immediately. He just got in the car and sat there and was just watching the guests go from ceremony to cocktail hour, just kind of observing. And at this point, although I hadn't had a chance to talk to him, it just didn't feel right. So I went back to the venue manager and told her that we needed to call the cops. Something needed to happen and figure out who this guy is. But before the cops had even arrived, the groom's older brother had actually come out of where the ceremony was being held, kind of this reception hall, walks over to me and sees this SUV that this guy is sitting at. And immediately the brother says, "No way." So I look at the older brother and say, "Do you know who that guy is?" And the older brother proceeds to tell me, yes, that guy was the bride's ex-fiance. And allegedly the bride had called off their engagement a little over a year ago, maybe about a year and a half ago. And according to the groom's brother, he had actually shown up at another family gathering that was, I guess, somewhat public, and tried to confess his love for the bride again and saying that they were meant to be together and everything. And although he wasn't really hurting anyone or becoming a huge problem at the family gathering either, they were able to deal with it themselves and get him off the property and thought that that was going to be the end of it. No one had even thought for a minute that he would show up to the wedding at all. But at this point, we still had the cops on the way. So they ended up showing up and spoke to him out in the parking lot. And he admitted that he had been here throughout the length of the entire day. He told the cops that he didn't want to cause any harm, that he admitted he had no invitation, but just that he wanted to see her one last time before she got married off and he had no chance with her. But after talking with the cops, he agreed that he was going to leave and leave quietly and calmly. So it was all resolved in that sense, and we didn't end up telling the bride until after the reception. But once we told the bride and the groom what had been happening, the bride looked at me and said, I knew I wasn't imagining it. I thought it was him from the start. So now, anytime I'm working a wedding, when anyone tells me something that they're concerned about, but then says, oh, I'm sure it's nothing, I think about this wedding and I begin to investigate a little more, because maybe it's not nothing, and maybe it's what you think it is from the start. Because the crazy part about this is that everyone noticed him in some way or another, but no one really cared to investigate. And so now I do just that and investigate whenever a bride tells me something, even if we both just laugh it off as stress. Thanks so much, and follow along for more of these insane stories.
There's this guy on here that's doing like his craziest stories from Arizona State University, and he's like top 10, and I've decided that I'm gonna start my own series called Things That Happened to Me at Florida State. Now, I haven't necessarily gone through the rankings as he has, so I'm gonna start with like simple ones that probably won't take as long to tell, but then as I get to my top 5, stay tuned, because those ones are actually gonna be like detailed, long as fuck, crazy ass things. Okay, I would say top like 20. It's the situation where we lived at the Standard. So if you don't know, Florida State built this new apartment complex called the Standard. It was a maze. Like, it was impossible to get through. Like, even if you were sober, it was like the center core, and then there'd be like 80 million hallways, and those hallways broke up into the other hallways. So it was like, it was intense. And like, because it was new, security was pretty strong. Like, if you go to some of the other older college apartments, you can like break open the doors because they're old, but like, this was like top security. And I remember we had went out and we're like having a post game at our place. Like, at the time I lived at the Standard, I'm friends with our neighbors. There's another group of people, and then we had another friend group like upstairs. So there's like 15, 16 of us like in my apartment, like playing music loud as fuck. You know how you are, like post gaming, you know, taking shots and shit. And we and it's like, when post games happen like this, like whoever's place it is, like people are coming in, you're inviting random people that you met that night. It's like, you know what, like people just come in, no one really questions it. So we're like sitting around, and then there's like this guy who like comes in our front door, right? And he's in just his fucking underwear, like boxers. And so my friend Ashley's like, hi, like who are you? And like, I kind of feel like he like hung out for there for a second. And so eventually everyone's kind of like looking at him like, who are you? And he's kind of like, he's like, where am I? And we're like the Standard? Or we're like the 4th floor, 427. And he's like, okay, so I have like a really bad case of sleepwalking. I kind of just came into consciousness like right outside your door, but like, how the fuck do I get out of here? And we're like, well, where do you live? And he's like, I live over by the Strip, which is 7 blocks from us. And this kid's barefoot in his fucking underwear. And do you know how many roads you have to cross? Like, busy intersections you have to cross. And we're like, he lived over by like, I think it was like Copeland or something. I don't know. It was over by the Strip, by the McDonald's. And so I'm like, we're like, how the fuck did you like cross red lights? Like, because that, especially that red light, because a girl got struck and hit at that McDonald's red light because people go flying. Like, it's like almost a highway. And so we're like, okay, so let's get this straight. You got up and you're sleepwalking, didn't put shoes on, or in your underwear, crossed like 6 red lights, somehow got into the Standard door. How? I don't know. Like, you'd have to circle the building to like find even just like a parking garage that like unlocks. You have to have a key to get up an elevator floor. So you landed on the 4th floor. We're deep in the burrows of that hallway. Like, we're at the very fucking end by like the exit to the emergency staircase. So you found all the way in there, and then you just like woke up in consciousness, and we're like, where the fuck am I? And then I think like one of my friends like called him an Uber and he went home, which I've you guys give a fuck, I have a video of this guy in our apartment. But basically, yeah, that's kind of how it ended. It was like, me and my friends were like, you want some candy? Or like, do you want some like nose candy? And he was like, yeah, sure. So it's just like, dead at the way home. And we're like, okay, that was fucking weird. But that is one of the stories. Part 2 of telling the craziest stories that happened to me while I was at Florida State. Now, this one is dear to my heart because me and my friends all hung out with ATO. Like, ATO was our group. Now, for my specific campus at Florida State, when I got there in 2019, ATO had just been kicked off, or no, it was 2020, because they like had a house party during COVID, and they were beefing with another frat, and so a frat told on them that they were having a party, so they like all got like kicked off and arrested, and like it was all that shit. So that pledge class, the 2019 pledge class, which was my pledge class, was like the last of them. So it was like as the years went on and they were graduating, the classes were getting smaller. So I don't know if you guys know this, but ATO has their like official date function, and it's called Valhalla because it's like the Vikings and stuff. So that's like their annual party, and these people go hard for this. Like they celebrate it for like a week leading up to it. So as we're like dwindling down, there's probably like maybe 70 of them left. But then it's like all of us in a big group. So there's like at least 200 of us still that are like, we're honoring Valhalla, like let's fucking do it. So we started at the pregame. We're at their house that's like about to get taken from them, and we're all in Viking uniforms, right? Like this is ATO's night on campus. We're in our Viking uniforms. Everyone's like on fucking Molly, like nose candy, like everyone's just lit. And so we're like, okay, let's make our way to, I think it was Warehouse. Yeah, it was Warehouse. We're like, let's make our way to fucking Warehouse, which is like 6 blocks away. Like it's at least a 30-minute walk uphill. And so we're having a blast. We're like walking down the street, like everyone's talking to us. We walk by, it's fucking Valhalla. And so if you've ever been to Florida State's campus, when you go past Potbellies and you start to go uphill, there's a frat right there. And it was SAE. Now, me personally, I don't hang out with SAEs, at least on that campus. Like, I never had been friends with them. And I guess they were in a fight with either, like, Fiji, or it was another frat. Don't quote me on this. I can't remember the details. Like, I believe the frat that ATO was beefing with was Kappa Sig. And I think this was SAE and Kappa Sig fighting. It's like, Kappa Sig is just, like, at that time, they were like not a very popular house. Now I think they're like top house, but at the time they were just like kind of fucking, I don't know, weirdos. And so it was like they just beefed with everybody. So we're walking up, right, and there's like a ton of SAEs hanging outside their porch, like, get the fuck off our fucking street ass porch, bitch ass shit, whatever the hell. And Kappa Sig is in the street. Oh my god, I'm remembering more details. So then Kappa Sig is in the streets being like, fight us then, you fucking pussies. Like, there's like a frat fight that's about to happen, like, in the streets. So we have to cross through. Mind you, we are all on Molly. Like, we are all off that shit in Viking costumes. So we do as we do. Everyone has their date. You're on a date function. We're like, oh, excuse us, like, just passing through. And they're like, yo, watch it, man. Like, fuck you, bitch. Like, and then, like, ATO gets involved in it. And like, what the fuck did you say, ho? Like, this is our Valhalla. Like, don't fucking try to ruin our night. And so then, all of a sudden, it was like, ATO, I am trying to remember this correctly. I think what happened was ATO figured out it was Kappa Sig and was like, fuck you bitches anyways. Like, Loki, like, teamed up with SAE and was like, it just went nuts. Like, people started swinging on each other. Like, somehow, like, there was already a fight happening. People were fighting. Somehow we got involved. They're fighting. And we're like, what the fuck is going on? And I remember this so distinctly. Like, this girlfriend literally goes, whatever his name was, Kyle, was like, oh my god, stop it, Kyle, this isn't you. Try to push him off. This, I think it was Captain saying, goes like this, pow, hits her in the face. And it got a little intense. And then finally we were like, the cops, like, their flashlights came on. And then so we just started fucking running. We're like, ah! We're like in our Viking uniforms. And we finally get to Warehouse and we're like, what the fuck? Like, that was just like the craziest walk over here. Like, what the fuck just happened? Like, how did we get involved in that whole fight? And then turns out that Molly was meth. And that was its own story. But we all accidentally more shit happened that night, but I will say that seeing a frat fight and then like watching a girl get punched in the face was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. In a Viking costume, just rolling my face off. Okay, part 3, just some of the craziest shit that ever happened to me at Florida State. This one's not as like long and drawn out. It definitely was like something that's gonna fucking stick in my brain until the end of time. But I remember this one time I was at Theta Chi, and it was like, usually you only went over there during tailgates, like during the daytime. But for some reason, no, it was during the fucking day. It was on a fucking tailgate. Because I'm like, why would I be at Theta Chi like at nighttime? Because they didn't do like post games and stuff. So I don't know if you guys have ever been to Theta Chi at Florida State, but it's like on College Ave. And there's like, it's hard to explain, but it's like kind of on a hill. And there's like brick walls around it. And I literally remember when you go to these houses, like, it's a frat house, so it's like you have to know somebody to like go into their room to like use the restroom, and like trying to hunt these people down when they're like fucked up and running around everywhere. It's like, where are we supposed to be? Like, where are the bitches supposed to be? So I was like, you know what? Fuck this. And their bathrooms are disgusting. They're disgusting. They're a walking cesspool. So I was like, fuck this. I remember going on my own journey where I was like, I'm gonna go find a place to pee. And I decided that I would go behind the house, like where this brick, it's like bricked in almost. There's like this ledge between it and the onyx, but it like drops off. And so I was like, okay, this is perfect. Because usually I have to like pee in the grass. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna like sit on this ledge and like pee off the back of it. So I pulled out my fucking pants like around my ankles and I'm peeing, right? I was so fucked up. I lost my balance. I went backwards, like legs in the air. The people walking in, like there was a line of people like waiting to get pussy out, ass out, like literally fell and like landed on my back and rolled downwards. Genuinely one of the most embarrassing things I think, and it was broad daylight. Like I think genuinely that was one of the most embarrassing things to have ever happened to me. That story's not as crazy just because it doesn't involve anybody else but me, but I had a fat scar to remember that one.
Listen, I'm not here to fight, okay? But whoever's in charge of delivering my seasonal depression, you didn't have to send it via expedited shipping, okay? No warning, just depression, no lubrication.
Okay, so again, my ex-boyfriend of like 3 years turned into Batman. He was living with my family. He left our house in the middle of the night, didn't say anything, took some of his belongings, not all of them, and dipped. So I've been sharing many stories from this time that are beyond belief. So today's story is about when he first had left our house. He had such an intense beef with my younger brother, who was literally on the autism spectrum. And he was always upset that my brother wouldn't get in like enough trouble for the things that he did. So he would come to me and complain, like, your parents aren't punishing him enough. And I was like, well, he is autistic. Like, what? There are certain, we got to draw the line somewhere. And so when my brother was in high school at the time, and he had been caught like once, with like edibles or something because of his friends, and he got in like huge trouble and then didn't do it again. So Batman moved out, and like the day or two after, we start getting things in our mailbox. And the first thing we get is a bag, like a paper bag full of used like marijuana cartridges and like empty edibles containers. And then it was a letter that he had written, like I knew his handwriting was his handwriting, to my brother, like as a thank you, like for my brother being his dealer. And I guess he assumed that my parents would like get really upset and get mad at him, but we were like, this is literally his handwriting. Like, so very bizarre. That was the first one. And then probably the next day or a couple days later, this was like over the course of like a month probably, but then the next one was, at the time I was driving a green Jeep Wrangler. So the next thing that showed up in our mailbox was a Hot Wheels version of a green Jeep Wrangler, and he had written a note on the back. For context, he had no like meaningful relationship with either of my parents. He writes on the back of the Hot Wheel, "Dear Mr. Moneybags, my dad, your wife loves me and your money." Like, that's it. So we have that, And then my dad's like, we might need to take this to the police. Like, this is getting a little out of hand. And then like 2 days later, he leaves something else in our mailbox, and it's a pair of Ray-Ban sunglasses that I had bought him for like a birthday or Christmas, I don't know. And he drops those in the mailbox, and he writes a note to my dad, again, who he like barely spoke to, writes a note to my dad. Like, dear so-and-so, I'm so sorry that things had to end like this. I so wish that I could have been your son-in-law. Again, like, no, we were not getting married. Like, very confusing. And so at that point, it was like 3 things, and then he kept driving by our house. Like, he would get caught on camera driving by our house. And so one day, my dad was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, this kid's got to stop. Like, he's got to stop. He left. He needs to move on. And so my dad was like driving home from somewhere, and he sees his car. We know it's his car because, like I had mentioned, he spray painted his silver car matte black and put the Batman logo where the car logo was because he was Batman. So my dad sees the Batmobile driving by our house while he's pulling in. So my dad goes to follow him, like to tell him, like, stop, ignore my insulin pump. Tell him to stop, like, is waving him down. He turns off the road we live on, and you turn off of it and the speed limit's 50. He makes the turn so fast that my dad's like, comes home and he's like, I thought the kid was gonna fly off the road. Like, so bizarre. So my dad goes to the sheriff's office and is like, here's what's going on. Like, this is what happened, and this is what this kid's doing. And they're like, this is not good. Like, this is a pattern, and we need to like monitor this. So then the sheriff's office starts building a bulletin board of all the things he's doing, like literally in a true crime show. So they have like bulletin board, like, this date leaves Hot Wheels in like the family's mailbox. This date leaves sunglasses with like, and these bizarre notes. This date tries to frame like her sibling for being a drug dealer. And our favorite part of the story is when he saw him and like he peeled out, we were like, Dad, what was he in the Batman costume? My dad's like, well, all I saw was the mask, but yeah, I assume so. So he was not only driving in the Batmobile, but he was driving around in it, masked on. I will insert a picture. Obviously I can't show all the pictures because I don't want to breach privacy, but this one is anonymous enough that you can see the extent to which he has been transformed into Batman. And then as Batman, he continued harassing and stalking my family, which does not seem like a very Batman thing to do. More where that came from.
I am so excited to announce to you all that for the 11th year in a row, I will be making my New Year's resolution to stop biting my nails. Now, will I follow through with this? Absolutely not, but it's just tradition to make it that, so cheers.
Okay, so we're a couple days post Batman moving out, and this is a story about when he kidnapped me. So he moved out, and I had a storage room in my closet, like a little like attic crawl space thing, and he had it filled with junk, like a bunch of toys and stuff that he had bought while he was living with my family. And so my parents had called his parents to say like, hey, by the way, your son left, and like they're not together anymore, and he did not take all this stuff, so if you could please come pick up his belongings. So they come over later that day to get his stuff, and they are shocked by the amount of belongings that he had. So they're having to load their car up, and they tell us like, okay, we're so sorry this happened, like, we're so sorry for how he's acting, but if you see him, can you please let us know, because we're trying to track him down. And we're like, sure, why not? I mean, this grown man is out like being homeless by choice, but sure, if we see him, we'll let you know. And so we go to pick up a Target order that day, and it's my mom, my sister, and I. And we pull up to the Target that we always go to, and he knows. His family didn't live in the same town as my family. They live like 30 minutes away. And so we pull up, and I see right when we pull up, he's walking out of the Target. And he had taken our garage door opener because he had one in his car. And I said, I will get the garage door opener back. Like, I'll just go tell him, like, can I have the garage door opener back? I thought I could just reason with him. Like, I didn't know he had gone fully, like, mentally ill, like, overnight. So I get out of the car, and I say his name, and I'm like, Batman, can I have the garage door opener? And he totally ignores me and just walks away. And so then I say it again, and he just walks away. So he takes off on foot through the parking lot. Then my mom calls his parents just to tell him, like, by the way, he's here. If you want to come try to talk to him, this is where he is. We're trying to get our garage door opener back, and, like, he's not communicating with Parker, so that's your update. And so he takes off on foot. We are sitting waiting for our curbside order. It's been like 10 minutes. He comes back to his car, tries to sneak into his car. At this point, we're waiting there because his parents asked us to wait there. His parents are pulling in. He sees them, takes off on foot again. They say, you guys can leave, like, it's okay. And I'm like, I'm not leaving. I want my garage door opener. Like, no. So then another 15 minutes of him putzing around this whole strip mall goes by. He goes to sneak in his car. I get out and I'm again like, Batman, just give me the garage opener. Can I just have the garage opener? He ignores me. So I open the passenger seat door, lean in to grab it. When I do that, he takes off. My sister's point of view is so funny because I jumped out of our car, left my phone and everything, and just leaned in quickly. So she's like, he took off like 0 to 100 and your feet were hanging out of the car. Literally is kidnapping me. Pulls out, so I have to like shut the door, and I'm sitting on stuff in his front seat, and I'm like, can you stop the car? Like, let me out. I'm like, I don't want, let me out. And he's screaming at me. He's like, you effing bitch. Like, you're so entitled, and now you're sitting on my laptop and you're gonna break it, and you don't even care because if you break something, your dad will buy it. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, but can you please just let me out of the car? Like, I don't want to be in your car. I just want the garage opener. Like, let me go. And my mom's following him. She's tailing him, obviously, because he's gone crazy, and her daughter's in his car. So my mom's on the phone with the police. Telling them what's happening. I'm stuck in the car. I stupidly say to him, I don't have my phone or anything, like, please just let me out. He's wearing a fanny pack that I know for a fact has knives in it, and he keeps fiddling around with it. So I'm like, what is gonna happen here? I'm freaking out. I look at him. He's screaming at me, just horrible things, and he has like a yellow tooth now. Within like 3 days, he just looks like a different person, and I'm like freaking out. I'm like, this guy might kill me, because he was like low-key abusive, like a little bit physically at times, but he did not like say horrible mean things to me when we were dating. So this was crazy. So he's on the main road speeding down, and I see a cop ahead of us. So I lean over and honk the horn. That's all I do. I just honk the horn. He is still screaming at me. The cop doesn't stop. They don't stop. And then luckily he turns onto a road where the sheriff's office is, like the courthouse and the sheriff's office. It's a Sunday though, so it's closed. But he pulls in. My mom pulls in behind him. He gets out of the car, doesn't stop the car, doesn't take the key out, gets out of the car, runs up to the door like he's the victim. I don't know how he's going to spin a tale that he's the victim when he was the one driving. Runs up to the door, knocking on it. No one answers. Well, then his parents pull up and the police pull up. When he sees the police pull up, he takes the fanny pack and throws it in the bushes. So the police come over and talk to us first, and there's like a cop going to try to talk to him, and we're telling them what happened, and they're like, oh geez, like, okay, this is weird. We're like, yeah. And then my sister's like, by the way, like because I'm crying, I'm a little bit like, I'm shaking. So my sister's like, by the way, he threw his fanny pack like that has knives in it in the bushes, like, just so you know. So we really don't know what his plans were. And they're like, oh gosh, like, this is not good. So they're dealing with him. They tell us we can leave. I wouldn't do that. So anyways, his parents come over to my mom's car. They're consoling me. They're like, we're so sorry. We didn't know that this was going to happen. Like, they're apologizing for his behavior. They, I think, had an inkling that he was going to be, like, that he was mentally ill and just didn't tell anyone, because there were signs. I'll tell those stories too. But the police said, like, you guys can go. If you want to file a restraining order, let us know. It was the first incident, so we didn't. We should have, in hindsight, because it got worse. But his parents followed behind us. They did not stay. They did not take him. He remained homeless, living out of his car and hotels. And I will insert a picture of the story that he believed happened, that his parents also saw and apologized for, because totally made no sense. And then from this point forward, the police in our county and city were hyper focused on him to the point where they had a bulletin board in the sheriff's office with like different things that he had done.
we'll get into that. So I'll insert the picture of his version of the story for you. And yeah,